Okay, so a couple of new and updated initiatives to start this meeting off. First of all, we have Alex joining us from the Law Centres Network, and Alice is going to give us a demo of the back office tool they've been configuring for law centres, as well as exploring the potential for a community of practice around Salesforce. So Alex, over to you.
But yes, thank you for the invite to talk about our work with law centres. My name's Alex Charles and I'm the IT and Digital Officer at the Law Centres Network. We're a membership body for around about 40 law centres across the country, and they provide free legal advice generally to some of the most disadvantaged people across the country in the areas of social welfare law. And our role as the membership body is about helping law centres to sort of grow and develop. It's also about building the strength of the network and amplifying the voice of law centres and their clients to kind of raise awareness of their problems. So this project that I'm about to talk about sort of comes under the Help for Law Centres part of our work. And this was fortunately a programme of funding that we received from the National Lottery to explore digital transformation with law centres. And in the early parts of that project, there was a large discovery piece of work involving user research with a number of our members. And it became apparent that there were some opportunities to help law centres explore different ways that they could manage their back office systems. And I think generally, whilst the law centres were broadly happy with the system that they had for case management for their legal work, there was a little bit of a gap in terms of the sort of the core back office functions that lots of charities have to deal with. So things like grant management, HR, managing contacts and volunteers, and the general sort of office management type jobs of, you know, recording when contracts are due and when testing and all of that sort of stuff needs to happen for the general office management. So what we did was we started working with a small pilot of law centres to basically test out the concept of whether or not we could develop Salesforce, which is a database which is actually free for charities to use, up to 10 licenses, and to sort of test out the concept of whether we could make that system meet the needs and requirements of most of the law centres in the pilot, and then thinking about how we could sort of package that up so it would become easy to roll that out to other law centres if they wanted to take on that particular system. We did do an appraisal of other systems, and we decided that Salesforce was the way for us to move forward for a number of different reasons. And from that point, we did a series of quite intense design workshops with the law centres in the pilot, and we deep dived into some of their processes around grant management, HR, how they work with volunteers and their contacts to try and sort of build out those requirements to package this up for the centres. So it was quite a lot of work. I think Frank, one of our members, might be on the call as well, so I'm sure he can feed in on that. But overall, what we were hoping to sort of achieve was a centralised system that we could store all of the information, make things easier to access, have sort of improved efficiencies around when reminders get sent out, when deadlines are due, and a place where everybody could sort of see and access information in accordance with their roles and responsibilities. So let me show you. I'm not going to go through all of it because it's quite a big tool, but I'll just focus on some of the key areas that we've developed for the law centres. So I think everybody should be able to see that here. So yeah, we've basically got 3 packages. So this one is around HR. There's another one for funding, and there's another one to do with office management. But what we've got here is the ability to record information about recruitment. So the status of whether recruitment was successful or not. We can look at put all of our workforce members on here. So we've got employees, volunteers, contractors and trustees. There's information on here about the contracts. I should say that this is actually a sandbox account, so everything that you're looking at here is all fake data. So that's a way of being able to sort of track when references have been requested, DBS checks, salary scales, all of that sort of thing. And then, of course, processes around induction, managing the distribution of assets as well. So things like giving out laptops, desktops, mobiles, that sort of thing. Tracking annual leave and time off, sick, and other things like toil or other time off, and also a means of being able to record training and professional development. So things like certificates and accreditations that the solicitors are required to do, and also around performance management issues. So appraisals, supervision, grievances and disciplinary if that should happen as well. So overall, it's sort of all come together, and we've been able to pull bits of information together to create these dashboards. So this is just a sample of some of the information that's on the system. And because it's all sort of like designed and built in, it means that as new records are kind of added to these areas, then all we have to do is refresh the dashboard, and all of a sudden our charts and everything magically update themselves. And we've got a nice picture of the state of what's going on across our law centre workforce. We've also developed an area, so there's another part of this to do with office management. So this is just about being able to record, obviously, the assets that we talked about, being able to purchase or record our purchases, but it's also about sort of tracking some of our key activities. So things like our supplier contracts, when those are due, and also thinking about some of those more kind of ongoing activities that we have to do to ensure that the office is safe, or that we're meeting our obligations as a charity as well. And then just quickly onto the funding area. So again, this is a place where we can sort of record information about different grants and donations that are coming in. We're able to track the status of whether or not those grants have been successful. We can record information about the outcomes of those funding opportunities, also able to schedule when payments are due or have been received. And I think one of the big benefits that law centres have been talking about with us is this object on deliverables, which is able to sort of track when funding reports are due, or other sort of key things like sending out invoices. And behind all of this, there is obviously some automation that's been added to that, which helps drive those efficiencies forward. And again, if we just sort of have a look at the dashboard for that, then it gives a real quick and easy way to be able to see the status of what's happening in our funding pipeline. So there's obviously like quite a lot more that's gone into it than that. This is a very, very quick overview, and I've probably gone through that far too quickly. But if people have got questions about the process or the tools or the learning really that's come from how we've done this, then do get in touch. But I did just sort of want to finish on a call out really, because I think as part of our work with law centres, we're obviously keen on developing like a community of practice around their use of Salesforce and sort of best practice in terms of these processes. You know, in our office, for example, in the Law Centres Network, there's a couple of organisations that use Salesforce as well. We've had conversations with funders that are using Salesforce for different purposes, and it was really just I suppose if there's interest among those advice organisations that are using Salesforce, whether that is for the back office stuff like we're doing, or whether you're using it more for your frontline services or something else, that if you want to just kind of come together as a group, then I think we would be interested with Martha to potentially facilitate that. And that could be a space where we're just sort of sharing ideas, learning opportunities and insights about how we sort of use the system, and even thinking about how we maybe standardize some of our approaches to collecting data and that sort of thing as well. So I'll end with that call out. If anybody's interested, I'm sure Martha, you'll put some information in the follow-up. But yes, thank you for inviting us to speak, and I hope you like the tool.
Thanks so much, Alex. Yeah, I mean, I know from my point of view, I love working with Salesforce. I've worked with it across a number of different charities. I know it can be a little bit unwieldy to get to grips with, but I think the power of it and what it's capable of doing is maybe an untapped resource for us. So I'd definitely be interested in talking more on all things Salesforce. I wonder if we could just have a quick straw poll, maybe in the meeting chat, about kind of people who have heard of Salesforce, or if you've never heard of it, or if you're interested in finding out more, maybe just to get a sense of kind of where we are in terms of who's actually heard of the tool, who's currently using it, and who might be interested in future. Please do just put a little note in the chat. And I can see David is first there and he's got his hand up as well. So David, I'll hand over to you.
Hi, thanks for that presentation, Alex. Yeah, I mean, we've invested a lot in Salesforce. We've been using it for several years now. We actually employ 3 members of staff whose job is entirely Salesforce, and it's absolutely central to how we operate. I mean, we use it to capture all our engagements with our members and with stakeholders. We use it for our influencing work through the campaigns functionality. We use it for our membership and membership renewals. We use it for all our invoicing. We've actually integrated Accounts IQ into Salesforce. So all our finances are done through it. All our training is done through it. So all the bookings for training courses and the management of training courses is done through it. All our fora and member meetings are managed through it. So it's absolutely central to everything we do.
Thank you, David. Yes, and I mean, we at LCN use that as well. In our own work, we use it for tracking our work with law centres, and it has been such a powerful tool. As Martha says, it can be a little bit difficult to kind of get your head around as well, but also compared to some other systems, it's really not that bad. And I think the fact that as charities, we're able to leverage the discounts from or free licenses as a not-for-profit organisation, there's some real value in having such a powerful machine. I'm not trying to sell Salesforce to anybody, by the way. It's just something that I guess if we work with it, we sort of end up becoming a bit geeky and ending up loving it. So, which is hard to say about technology. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe we should be approaching Salesforce to get some kind of marketing budget this way. Great, thank you so much, Alex. Some really, really interesting thoughts on Salesforce coming through in the chat as well. So it looks like we've struck gold in terms of something that people are interested in moving forward, which is brilliant.